Refresh your memories, Gumball fans! With the new amazing world of Gumball series looming, there's one thing you need before diving back in. The secrets you probably forgot, but the writers never did. Because trust me, this show is filled with moments that even the most dedicated fans have forgotten. From hidden prophecies, to one-off characters who might secretly matter in the new series, to dark episodes that Cartoon Network would never dare air today, these aren't just random memories, they might be the key to understanding where the new revival is headed. So today, we're diving deep into 10 forgotten Gumball moments that will blow your mind before the new series. Let's get started.
Zack doesn't wait for doors to open, he punches right through them!
The future according to Banana Barbara. Banana Barbara isn't just a background mom. She's Elmore's silent prophet. In The Remote and The Oracle, we learn her paintings don't just capture imagination, they predict reality. What she paints comes true. And these aren't harmless doodles of everyday life. They're visions of chaos, collapse, and worlds crumbling around the Wattersons. Most fans overlook this, brushing it off as a quirky gag. But step back and think. Barbara isn't predicting a lunch menu or tomorrow's weather. She's sketching the unraveling of Elmore itself.
You're gonna get it. Wait!
Why does this matter now? Because the new series has been teased with bigger arcs and darker undertones. If that's true, then Barbara's visions aren't background jokes anymore, they're a roadmap. She may be the only character who's seen the full picture. And here's the chilling twist. What if Barbara isn't in the new series because she painted her own disappearance? Or worse, she knew too much about how Elmore really works? If Gumball is building toward a finale or the long-theorized simulation theory, then Banana Barbara isn't a forgotten side character. She's the Cassandra of Elmore, warning everyone of a future nobody's ready for. Unfinished business, waiting to be resolved.
Only what's left.
What does that mean? Talk to me, Barbara! Come on! Spill your guts!
The time. Gumball and Darwin met their future selves. Remember the future? On the surface, it feels like a throwaway gag. Gumball and Darwin stumble into older versions of themselves, and those older versions are miserable, broke, and basically walking disasters. It's played for laughs, sure, but look closer. This wasn't just a random joke. It was a glimpse into one of Gumball's biggest underlying themes: destiny versus free will. The show has always toyed with the idea that Elmore's characters are trapped, whether it's the Void erasing mistakes, Banana Barbara painting inevitable futures, or Rob insisting there's no escape from the cycle. So when Gumball and Darwin see their failed selves, maybe it wasn't slapstick, maybe it was a prophecy. What if those older versions weren't alternate timelines, but inevitable ones, the path the boys are doomed to walk if they never break free of the simulation? The revival has been teased as having darker undertones, and what could be darker than confirming that the Wattersons' future is written in stone? That no matter how hard they try, the cycle always ends in collapse? Fans rarely revisit this moment, but in hindsight, it looks less like comedy, and more like a breadcrumb trail.
Well, if I can't do anything, you do something!
Hold on!
You're blowing hot air, it's making it worse!
The end of the internet. The webisode. In the webisode, Gumball and Darwin do something no other cartoon characters have ever dared to do. They destroy the internet. Not crash a website, not break a server, they literally bring down the entire digital world. At first glance, it's classic Gumball absurdity. A silly adventure about memes, cat videos, and the randomness of internet culture. But when you slow down and really think about it, what's happening is terrifying. The digital space collapses, code starts breaking apart, and Elmore itself begins to unravel.
You see, Darwin, that's the problem with algorithms and automating things with computers. They're too dumb!
Sound familiar? That's because it mirrors the simulation theory almost perfectly, years before fans even started connecting the dots. Look closely. In the webisode, the internet isn't treated as just technology. It's portrayed as a second reality, one that's directly linked to Elmore's survival. When the code fails, the real world fails. That's not just comedy, it's a blueprint for how fragile the entire universe of Gumball really is. And here's the kicker. Most fans forgot this moment because it's tucked neatly into the middle of the series, hidden behind slapstick jokes and fast-paced gags. But when you line it up with The Void, The Signal, and the Season 6 finale cliffhanger, it suddenly feels like more than a throwaway gag. It feels like foreshadowing. What if the webisode wasn't just parodying internet culture, but warning us? What if the destruction of the internet was actually the first crack in the system? A sign that Elmore was always unstable, always running on code that could collapse at any moment. If the new series chooses to circle back, this episode could be recontextualized as the very first warning sign, a moment where the simulation began to show its fragility long before Rob revealed the truth. And if that's the case, the webisode wasn't just a funny experiment, it was a prophecy.
Think about what the elder said. Perhaps we're better off without technology.
Joe the Mailman's breakdown. Ah yes, Joe the Mailman. Normally, he's the kind of character you barely notice, just another face in the chaos of Elmore. But in the mail, Joe finally reaches his breaking point. After years of being stepped on, ignored, and chewed up by cartoon physics, Joe absolutely snaps. He unloads on Gumball and Darwin in one of the most unhinged rants in the entire series, blaming them for every ounce of misery in his life. On the surface, it's hilarious, this quiet background extra suddenly exploding with rage. But if you look closer, it's also kind of tragic. For once, a background character acknowledges the suffering caused by the main characters.
It's all gone.
Don't exaggerate, Larry. There's still a good third of it burning. What happened?
He knows he's treated like an afterthought, and the meltdown feels almost too real. Now here's where it gets interesting. What if Joe isn't just comic relief? What if he's a glitch in the system, an NPC waking up? If the revival explores Elmore as a simulation, Joe the Mailman's breakdown suddenly reads like foreshadowing. He's proof that even side characters can sense when something isn't right. A forgotten gag that might actually be one of the most important cracks in the illusion. What was once just a funny meltdown might be reintroduced as the moment the background started fighting back. The Ripple family and their disappearance. One of the strangest and most overlooked families in the amazing world of Gumball are the Ripples. They only appear in the rerun, but what they do is massive. They mess with time travel, bend events out of shape, and even create alternate timelines. For a brief moment, they weren't just side characters, they were literally rewriting reality. And then, they vanished, never mentioned again. It's easy to forget them, but let's pause here. The Ripple family broke time. They had a direct influence on the fabric of Elmore's existence, and the show brushed it off like nothing happened. Or did it? If the revival dives into multiverses, simulations, or corrupted timelines, the Ripples suddenly become very important. They could be the first ones who tampered with Elmore's reality, maybe even opening the cracks that characters like Rob later fell through. They weren't just forgotten side characters. They may have been the first domino in a chain reaction we're only beginning to understand.
Dude, no, just take them off.
The Gumball Apocalypse, the Helmet. Let's talk about one of the most deceptively dark episodes in all of the amazing world of Gumball, the Helmet. On the surface, it feels like a classic Elmore gag. Gumball and Darwin stumble across a strange helmet that everyone suddenly believes brings good luck. A simple object, a silly superstition, the kind of wacky setup we expect from a cartoon that exaggerates everyday life. But then things shift. The lucky helmet doesn't just cause curiosity, it creates obsession. The people of Elmore don't just want it, they crave it. Soon, friends turn against each other, families fall apart, and the entire town descends into chaos. Riots break out, alliances collapse, and neighbors betray one another, all because of a worthless piece of junk. It's easy to laugh this off as exaggerated background chaos, but when you zoom out, the helmet starts looking like one of the most apocalyptic episodes in the series. One rumor, one belief, was enough to unravel Elmore completely. Now think about what the revival promises. Darker undertones, bigger story arcs. What if this wasn't just a gag, but a test run? What if the helmet wasn't magic at all, but a glitch in the simulation? A way to see how quickly Elmore's reality would collapse under pressure. And the answer? Frighteningly fast. If Elmore can self-destruct over superstition, what happens when something real cracks the code? What happens when characters start to realize their world is nothing but unstable data barely holding together? That's when the helmet stops being a joke. It becomes a prophecy, a chilling preview of how Elmore could truly end, not with monsters or meteors, but with doubt, paranoia, and trust breaking faster than reality itself. Comedy on the surface, horror lurking just beneath. And if the new series dares to revisit this thread, we may look back on the helmet as the first true glimpse of Elmore's apocalypse.
No, my power!
The day Gumball almost became a god. In the Oracle, Banana Barbara paints a vision that feels like a throwaway gag at first glance. Gumball as the supreme ruler of Elmore. Most fans laughed, chalking it up to absurdist comedy. But if you look closer, it's one of the strangest, most chilling predictions in the entire series, because for a brief moment, it almost comes true. Think about it. Gumball has always been different from the rest of Elmore. While other characters follow the rules of their cartoon logic, Gumball constantly bends them. He glitches through reality, survives being erased, resets episodes, and even changes outcomes that should have been permanent. That's not normal. It's as if he exists slightly outside of the system. Now place that against the simulation theory. Suddenly Barbara's prophecy isn't a joke. It's a warning. If Gumball really is the chosen glitch, then his path to becoming a leader or even a godlike figure could be inevitable. And here's the kicker. If Barbara's paintings are truly prophetic, then Supreme Leader Gumball is still in play. Meaning the revival might not only revisit the prophecy, it could finally fulfill it. All superfans of Gumballers have subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, you are definitely missing out. Smash the subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell icon.
For my whole walking life, I've had to keep my mouth shut, having to deal with everyone's annoying little habits. But now, I can say what I like.
The Wattersons versus reality itself. Episodes like The Void, The Rerun, and The Signal weren't just fun little experiments. They were the moments when the amazing world of Gumball stopped being a goofy comedy and crossed into full-on science fiction horror. Think about it. In The Void, we learned that entire characters, objects, and memories can be erased from existence simply because they don't fit in Elmore's reality. Ocho's uncle, Molly Collins, even misprinted objects, gone, deleted like bad files. In The Signal, the show didn't even try to hide the glitching anymore. Characters froze mid-sentence. The frame rate dropped. Backgrounds looped like broken video files. It felt less like a cartoon episode and more like watching a corrupted VHS tape of your own childhood. And then there's The Rerun. Gumball is trapped in a never-ending cycle, reliving the same scenes, watching time reset over and over until he realizes he has no control at all. That's not just weird, that's existential dread in cartoon form.
Which is kind of my fault. The remote!
Here's the kicker. Most casual fans laughed, called these episodes trippy, and moved on. But if you actually connect the dots, these weren't one-offs. They were the spine of the series. The secret thread tying all of Gumball's chaos together. What if the glitching, the loops, and the deletions weren't random jokes, but warnings? Warnings that Elmore is not a town, it's a simulation. A fragile, artificial world held together by code that's slowly falling apart. And if the new revival really does lean darker, as the creators have teased, then these weird episodes weren't weird at all. They were prophecies, the most important chapters in the entire story, telling us exactly what's coming. Forgotten by casual fans, but unforgettable if you dare to look closer.
The bank owns their houses, we just have to make it difficult for them to pay.
But what'll happen to them?
The one episode that mocked Cartoon Network. One episode fans don't bring up nearly enough is The Puppets, the bizarre crossover with Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. At first, it feels like a parody, a quirky little detour where Gumball and Darwin stumble into a puppet world. But then it turns unsettling. The colors dim, the tone shifts, and suddenly, the cheerful world of Elmore is replaced by something straight out of a fever dream. For a few minutes, the amazing world of Gumball stopped being Gumball. Why does that matter now? Because it proved just how fearless the show could be. It was a direct wink at Cartoon Network, mocking the very idea of safe children's television by diving headfirst into surreal horror. If the upcoming revival wants to shock us, The Puppets is the blueprint. It showed that Gumball could completely abandon its style, rewrite its own rules, and still deliver an unforgettable episode. Fans often forget just how radical this was. But in hindsight, The Puppets wasn't just an experiment, it was a warning. Gumball will break format, break expectations, and maybe even break the network itself to tell the story it wants.
Oh! Yeah, dude, they are not the ones who need help.
The cliffhanger. We never got. The Inquisition. Of course, the biggest forgotten moment isn't really forgotten, it's ignored. The Inquisition. The cliffhanger where Rob falls into the void, screaming as reality closes in while the Wattersons stare into oblivion. And then, nothing. No finale. No resolution. It's been years and many fans moved on. If Gumball taught us anything, it's that no joke is ever just a joke. The revival might not just give us answers. It might break the rules of cartoons all over again. Not forgotten, just waiting.
Transformation is the only chance they have of escaping to the other place when this world...
Gumballers, there you have it. Which of these moments should return in the revival? And did I miss a forgotten gem that deserves a comeback? Drop your theories in the comments, because if there's one thing we know about the amazing world of Gumball, it's that nothing is ever really random. The question isn't whether Gumball will return to these forgotten moments, it's whether Elmore can survive them. Stay gumballing!